some smoke jumpers choose not to associate themselves with fellow smoke jumpers, and that's fine. But the majority of them, do relate to the experience, kind of like war veterans. I can relate to my dad having been a World War II veteran, and going to reunions for a period of maybe 15, 20 years. Most of them are passed on now, but luckily my father's still around. But and it was 31 years ago this year here in Missoula in 1984 that Earl Cooley provided the leadership to having the first reunion of smoke jumpers, and from that, there was always the camaraderie and folks, getting together, and it's just continued, on. And I'm a member of the board of the National Smokejumper Association, and we worry and think about, how long can this be sustained and continue? And we don't have, we wrestled with it a lot a couple of days ago. We don't have an answer. But there is very definitely a camaraderie of individuals with the individuals, and they, I'll relate to one instance where when I first smoke jumped in 1962, one of my bunkmate at Winthrop, Washington, he jumped on a fire and he froze, in the air, and he didn't steer, his parachute, and he ended up landing in the middle of the fire. And it was a big barn burning fire, and his feet got hot, and he of course lost his mind to a certain extent, and he took his boots off because his feet were hot. Well, he got, burned his feet, and I never did see him after that morning. But I have been able to hunt down where he lives, and I'm gonna write him a letter and see how he is. He's living down in California, east of Los Angeles at the present time. Russell Klein Hexel. But there is, we just care, and it continues on. Here in Missoula, I go out hiking when I can every Monday during the spring through the fall with a bunch of jumpers, hiking around the mountains and hills of Missoula. I of course belong to the National Smokejumper Association, life member, and we have reunions. Last year I attended a smoke jumper reunion in Winthrop, Washington, and also one in Redmond, Oregon, where I had, both places where I smoke jumped. Yeah, it's just a brotherhood of individuals who primarily, they work to keep together, and it's just amazing. I was just this morning talking to a guy who jumped in 1953, lives in Augusta, Maine, and he flew here with his wife, and and I saw him talking to a guy who I don't think he'd ever seen since 1953, and they were comparing fire information that they were on. The one guy from Augusta, Maine had researched his fire records, and he had extensive notes. And the other guy didn't have any knowledge of the fires, and they really got into talking about it. And then from there, of course, it went on to what else, what happened to them since 1953. So it was really neat. It's just a neat group, and I can relate to. I try and relate also to a personal experience I had about 5 years ago. Matter of fact, it was 5 years ago next month. I involved in trail crew, a smoke jumper trail. We have a volunteer smoke jumper trail crew program. We have about 20 week-long projects a year throughout, I think 7 or 8 states. Most of them are here in Idaho and Montana, but anyway, on the trail crew, I work with the Forest Service primarily in planning, lining up these week-long projects, and other people do a lot of the other support work. Anyway, I was out on one, 5 years ago next month, and I had some heart attacks, and I didn't know it at the time what they were. But after being gone for 2 weeks, I came back home and told my wife I just wasn't feeling too good, and I needed to go to. It was up in Glacier Park. I drove back on Friday, and that night I went to bed early, and next Saturday morning I woke up. I still wasn't feeling too good, and I told her I think I need to go down to Now Care down at the local clinic and probably get some antibiotics for some lung congestion I got. Well, short story is I went down, ended up going to the ER. They sent me to the ER at St. Pat's Hospital, and they checked me out and found out that I'd had some heart attacks, and they tried putting a stent in, and that didn't. They couldn't do that. I had too much blockage in my heart and the veins and arteries, and then they ended up scheduling a surgery for Sunday morning at 7, and open heart surgery, and 4 bypasses, and they had to do some repair work on my mitral valve because it was regurgitating, and took off 1.5 gallons of fluid out of my lungs because that was I figured that's what the bacteria or something I had. And so anyway, again, smoke jumping, you teach you to be in shape, face challenges, and I did, and it took me a couple of years to get back into decent shape, but now I can climb with the best of them, the hills and mountains around here. Just came off earlier this week working down in the Lost Trail Pass area, Idaho-Montana border on a project. Thank you, smoke jumpers.